Shieber, our moderator.
So from a virtual reality product to a product that can't get more real, huh? Beds. That's some high-tech stuff, man. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
The first question I had for you is really just about branding. Why is a bed company called Casper?
You know, there's nothing too clever to the name. When we were trying to come up with the name, one of our co-founders, his roommate at the time was named Casper, and he actually just didn't fit on the bed that he was sleeping on, so we thought that was funny, and that was the one that kind of stuck with us, and we went with that.
And how did you get involved in the bed business? What is it about sort of this particular industry that appealed to y'all that y'all thought you could do something with that would be disruptive?
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually been in the mattress category for a number of years. My first company was a portfolio operator of niche e-commerce websites, where we'd basically find dropship manufacturers and sell their products through e-commerce websites that we'd market online. Sold a bunch of different product categories, from window blinds, poker software, sports tickets, and mattresses. Mattresses actually ended up being our biggest category, so I just learned the business that way. That was a company I started when I was in school at the University of Texas, but learned the kind of tricks of the trade and just how strange the overall industry is and how the gimmicks that they play to take advantage of consumers. So I had background in the space that way. I had a physical product. One of my co-founders, Jeff, he actually had a great deal of mattress background as well. He was a 10-year senior industrial designer at IDEO and worked for some of the majors in the category while he was there. And then the last kind of piece was Neil Parikh, one of my co-founders. Actually, his dad is a sleep doctor, and so between all of our backgrounds, we thought it was pretty serendipitous to come together to work on Casper.
And what makes Casper a tech company? You know, when I think about what y'all are doing, you're selling mattresses, right? And Sleepy's has been selling mattresses for a number of years. So as 1-800 buy mattress direct, whatever. What's so tech about what y'all are doing? How do you differentiate?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we like to call ourselves maybe a tech-enabled brand. So tech is kind of core to our DNA. One of my co-founders, Gabe, is our CTO, and we've built all of our tech. And what that allows us to do is really just have the flexibility to deliver the customer experience that we want to deliver. That's from the front end of the website all the way through the back end of delivery and trial and just everything. And so having the flexibility to build our own tech and really be adaptable to what consumers want, I think is core to offering the next level of customer experience that we strive for throughout the process.
People buy beds like once every 10 years. There's not a lot of replacement there. How do you continue growing? Is it just new geographies? Are y'all looking at expanding internationally?
Yeah, well, so one thing is I don't think people realize how big the mattress industry is. Last year, US consumers spent something like $15 billion at retail. So 20 million mattresses were bought, and they're bought every year. It's an amazingly stable, consistent, predictable business, which is why private equity guys have loved owning the manufacturers for so long. And then you add in other sleep-related products like sheets and pillows, and it's just a giant consumer category here in the US, over $25 billion. So that's a giant pie that we'd love to get, even a small piece of. And it's an industry that hasn't changed in so long. So we think what we're doing is a very unique approach to it, and know there's just so much to do to kind of build.
So are you going to sell pillows as well, and is there going to be Casper bedding, Casper sheets, Casper whatever, Casper?
Yeah, so our goal with Casper is to really build the top-of-mind brand when you think about getting a better night of sleep, and that doesn't exist as kind of a single channel today. You have to generally go to different retailers to buy different products that you need from different manufacturers to get a good night of sleep. And we think it's really exciting to build a brand that people can think about when they need a better night of sleep. So we're actively working and have a really awesome product development team on any product that touches sleep.
What's next? What is there something that y'all are working on that will come out next? Like what might be next on the product roadmap for y'all?
We haven't announced what's going to be next, but
well, you could right now.
We could. But needless to say, if it touches sleep, that's something we're excited about, we're looking at, and we're working on, and I think you'll see real reinvention of all of these product categories.
One of the things that's interesting is there's been a lot of, and I'm telegraphing, one thing that I find interesting is there have been a lot of apps around sleep. especially for wearables. It's something that folks have been really interested in. Is that a market that y'all might get into? Are you looking at working with some of the guys that are doing sleep monitoring, sleep tracking, to try and really get this total view of what it's like to get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, we think the biggest gap in that area is that there's a lot of ways to measure how you sleep, but there's nothing that influences how you change to get a better night of sleep. And so that's the area that we think is really exciting, kind of bridging the measurement side to actually influencing and improving how you sleep.
What would that look like?
You know, there's a lot of different variables that impact how well you sleep. Certainly it's the products that you use, like mattresses and pillows and sheets, and how that influences temperature and sound. And there are just other variables in the bedroom that influence how you sleep. And so to the extent that you can influence them with lights or, again, sound, temperature, all of those variables drive how well you sleep. And so one day you could imagine a world where tech does enter the bedroom and help improve people by measuring the environment and then manipulating how it's changed.
So do you see sort of mattresses embedded with some sort of technology that might sort of stimulate this? You know, you can do like people can adjust their mattresses and do things like that. Would y'all get into that space ever?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really excited by how tech could enter the bedroom and how that's integrated with products. And I think right now it's just kind of the idea stage about how that could look one day. But it's definitely something that we like talking about and thinking about, and definitely stay on top of kind of quantified sleep and how that movement's evolving.
Are there any companies in the quantified sleep space that y'all particularly like? Are you working with anyone in that space?
We're not working directly with anyone. We're really excited to see kind of the Apple Watch and how they're doing. They hired some of the best sleep scientists in the industry. All the kind of players in that space are doing interesting things slightly differently.
When you think about what's going on with retail in New York, there are tons of these retail companies that have done really well in e-commerce. Birchbox, you've got Warby Parker here, which is sort of like the retailer that sold a sort of hardcore, like old school brand, just glasses online, and made shit tons of money doing it. What is it? Is there something unique to the New York market that makes this a thing, or when you sort of launched your company here, what was it? And is there something in the ecosystem that makes it attractive for tech companies to be out here?
Yeah, I think New York's a great market because it just has such a rich background in kind of retail, fashion, commerce, even early e-commerce. I mean, Gilt Group. There's just a ton of great commerce companies here that get branded products and get building these companies. And so there's a really rich ecosystem of talent that has been there, done that, learned lessons and seen kind of the evolution of that space. And so I think New York is the best market to launch a company like that.
And when you talk about talent, are you talking about like sort of middle management, executive guys who might have been involved in sales or something like that for like traditional retail chains or outlets that you can then pull into these e-commerce environments, or is it more just sort of across the board?
Yeah, I think it's across the board. It's from the investors. I mean, I think Ben Lear with Lear Hippo Ventures was an investor in every one of the companies you just named. So he's been tremendous for us and just a great investor and partner for us growing the business, all the way down to kind of people moving out of college who want to just get involved with these commerce companies, and they're great consumer brands that you can really relate to.
So when I mentioned Warby, Warby actually doesn't sell to me. I'm too blind. Like, I can't buy Warby Parker glasses because my eyesight is too bad. In fact, I can barely see any of you right now, even with these glasses on. And they've bred all sorts of competitors. Like, I buy my glasses from I think they ultimately get made in China by someone, or several someones. What is the sort of barrier to entry for Casper? How does your business not breed all sorts of competitors? Why can't Rocket Internet just like go to Europe and knock you off or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, one is, I think it starts with the product. We spent a ton of time developing the product. As I mentioned, my co-founder, Jeff, is a brilliant product designer and industrial designer. And it took many months for us to create the bed. We said, first and foremost, let's see if we can create the world's most comfortable bed. And that's what we set out to do. We tried and built dozens of different varieties, had tons of our friends come through and lay on the beds to give us feedback. And we were the first ones to ever combine latex foam and memory foam the way that we did, and we have a patent on that. So I think there's something really special with the R&D of our product development team and the products that we develop. And then I think you wrap that in a really compelling brand. And building a brand is not easy. There's no kind of playbook for that. Every one of the companies you mentioned have taken a different path to it. And we spend a ton of time thinking about how we continue to elevate the brand and build something that really connects with people.
How do you build the brand and elevate it in a way that really connects with people?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's something where we spend a ton of time thinking, like, what would we want to see in the space? And I guess fortunately for us, the bar to do anything cool in the mattress category is pretty low. And so, no one had ever done anything like this with the category, and I think we saw that it really resonated with people. There was a really strong void in the category, and what we've done has connected, and we've been really lucky on that front, and our customers have become very vocal advocates of the business and continue to tell their friends and post on social media, and I think those are all signals that the brand really connected with people kind of out of the gate.
Just getting back into sort of the business of the business. You have a couple of retail channels, like offline retail channels. You have a showroom here in New York. You've got one in LA as well, correct?
Yeah, so we have two showrooms, one in New York and one in LA. And the New York one just kind of evolved almost accidentally. It was our original office space. And really, since the first day that we launched, we had random customers just come, knock on the door, say, I'd like to come see the bed. And we're like, okay, sure. So we set up the back kind of third of the office as a bedroom and had people come through. And it was just more and more people on a week-over-week basis. And we just saw that it was awesome that we get to interact with people, talk about the product with them, talk about the brand. And now we moved out of that office and have that as a dedicated showroom here in NoHo in New York on Bond Street, and we have one in LA in West Hollywood.
Would you look to open more? I mean, how important is the offline retail channel? You'd think about Sleepy's, and they've got thousands of mattress stores all over New York, right?
Yeah.
So, 8,000.
Yeah, so we're really excited by offline. We look at this as kind of an experiment to see, could we drive people from a digital engagement to an offline destination? How could we create an experience that was really differentiated, and how could we just have fun with it and really give something to people that they would enjoy and hang out, whether or not you were in the market for a mattress or not?
So what does that look like? What does that offline retail experience look like? Where else would you look to set something like that up? Would it be Chicago? Would it be Kansas City? Like, do you want to go to the middle? Like, where?
So we look at it as kind of just an evolving experiment so that we keep learning. Our next phase in this experiment is actually doing pop-ups. So we're launching pop-ups subsequently in San Francisco, Austin, and DC. Those will be the next 3 markets.
When are they going to happen?
Over the next 2 months.
Okay. Are you looking at that as a conversion opportunity to get people to buy the beds in the showroom, or just sort of play around with whatever you've got going on in the store?
Yeah, so again, we look at it as a learning experience. This is something where it'll be our first test with ground floor retail. Right now, both destinations in New York and LA are kind of destination retail experiences, so you have to drive to them. There's no ground floor signage. So we're curious to see if we can monetize any traffic that's walking by, and we'll learn from that. But really, it's just one more step to understand how offline works, what people enjoy about it, what they come for, what questions they have, and how we can just provide a completely differentiated experience.
There was an article I read about y'all, I think in USA Today, where they talk about y'all have gotten $20 million in sales in the first 10 months of your business. Where are you at now in terms of sales? What's the milestone that y'all have hit recently?
Yeah, so no new milestone announced, but the business continues to do very well. We're lucky that all the customers we continue to generate tell their friends, and referrals are still our biggest acquisition channel. And the business just continues to do really well.
What's the biggest cost for y'all's business?
So we make a physical product. Certainly, that's the biggest line item for our business.
And how much do y'all spend on R&D?
We don't break out any specifics on R&D or anything like that, but it's one of our bigger teams. We have really great designers and product engineers, and are continuing to hire for that.
You talk about, y'all have raised, like $15 million so far? And the last round was in August of 2014. Are you fundraising now? Are y'all going to take money from anybody?
No, we're not fundraising now. We've really just had our hands full with growing the business and handling the customers that we have. We've kind of always had supply chain issues to deal with, kind of the rapid growth that we aren't great at predicting, and have really just been focused on that.
One of your investors is Steve Nash, right, in Conciliary Capital.
Yeah.
With guys like that, with like one of these sort of marquee names, or celebrity investors, whatever. What are these guys bringing to the table? What are you getting from Conciliary other than capital that you couldn't have gotten from I don't know, any other investor.
Yeah, I mean, Consigliere is one of the best brand builders out there, and so when we have questions on how to build a brand and how that evolves and going from day one and scaling to build a really big brand and business, those are things that we ask them, and they've worked with companies from inception through kind of later stage, and so all investors kind of have different perspectives, different backgrounds, and we try to glean what we can from each of them.
Now, you talked about growing. You mentioned that you're focused on the States right now, correct? That's pretty much where most of the sales are?
Yeah, U.S. and Canada, actually.
Okay.
So we launched Canada around Thanksgiving of last year.
Oh, wow, great. So you're like nominally international.
International light.
International light. Would you look to expand over the next year? Are you thinking about other geographic markets, or right now is the focus on getting the States right? You say you're opening these pop-up shops in Austin, in San Francisco, you said, and where else are you doing it?
D.C.
And D.C. Would you also look to open one in London or Berlin?
We love the idea of going international. The nice thing about a mattress is that it's a truly universal product that everyone needs and enjoys and can enjoy a better night of sleep. The challenge of dealing with physical products is that it's not easy to turn on kind of international markets overnight, but it's definitely something we're keen to do. We think Europe's really exciting. We think Asia's really exciting, and we're excited to build a truly global brand. Do you have a sense of what the biggest market for the mattresses are? Like, where are you selling the most mattresses in the States right now? In the States, it's amazing how diverse our footprint is. I mean, New York's our biggest single market, but we really sell all over the country to all ages, all demographics, and it's really been kind of a universally embraced brand and product and story, and so we're really lucky to have such a wide footprint.
If you were going to start another one of these companies, like if you were going to tackle another industry that's been sort of closed, you look at shaving, that's one. You look at, and there are startups in that. You look at cosmetics, and that's another, and there's a growing number of startups in that. Y'all are tackling mattresses, Warby's after eyeglasses. What's next? Like, if you were to talk to a young entrepreneur and say, hey, buddy, there's this market that's totally locked down that you should try and run after, what would it be?
Yeah. It's a great question, and we ask ourselves that, and we ask, like, what are the commonalities of these different industries when we were getting started? And I think you see that there are industries where there hasn't been a lot of change in a number of years. They're usually pretty tightly controlled, so in the mattress category, it really is an oligopoly. There's two parent companies that control over 70% of all manufacturing share. So they have been able to work very closely with retailers to keep margins extremely high, and consumers have a terrible experience. So I think one of the questions it starts with is do people hate the way it is today? And universally, people hated the way you bought a mattress traditionally. So we thought you could do better, and I think that's a good way to approach identifying other categories that could use change.
Well, I mean, if y'all have done this intellectual exercise yourselves, what other categories have you come up with as you've been brainstorming or chatting about this?
We've been focused on mattress and sleep products, so nothing else came to mind when we did the exercise, but it lined up with kind of what Warby identified in the eyeglass category. Same with razors and Gillette and Chick, and it's just there's these old line businesses where manufacturers were able to keep really high margins, and fortunately you can kind of circumvent traditional distribution, go direct to consumers these days with like a digitally led brand that connects, and you can grow really quickly.
So what do your margins look like?
So we don't break those out, but it's a category where we can continue to build a very healthy business.
So if they're like 90%, y'all are like 80% or 70%, and you can still.
So, yeah, we've never talked about our margins, and
there's no time like the present, buddy. Come on,
right.
I mean.
And even the guys in the space, a lot of them are private equity owned, so they don't talk about their margins too explicitly. But
yeah, but private equity guys are jerks anyway, so whatever. No, I'm kidding. I love all of you. You're great. Private equity, you're wonderful. Buy me. So one last question for you, sir, before we wrap up. When you're taking mattress companies to the mattresses, how many mattresses do you need to bring?
That's like a woodchuck chuck.
Yeah, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
Yeah.
Do you just as many as you can, right?
As many as you can.
As many as you can. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. We're just about out of time. I'd like to thank you very much, sir, for taking the time to speak with me today. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you, buddy.
There you go.